Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Bondi. Three things. One, I do have some concern that whoever is the Attorney General, you or anyone, is going to be presumably, will be under a significant amount of pressure at some point from the President. Attorney General Barr was, Attorney General Sessions was. Yeah, and you've made it very clear your client is the Constitution. I think that's very reassuring to us. But the President does have now a Supreme Court provided immunity. And I just want to express to you my concern, and it really does align with what Senator Schiff said. You have what I regard as a very bad decision by the Supreme Court. The President should not be above the law, never has been. And my concern on the basis of statements that President-elect Trump has made is that he does identify people as political enemies, including Senator Schiff, and there may come a day where there is pressure on you. And I'm just going to express my hope that that independence that you've had throughout your career when it comes to the Constitution or pressure from a higher official, that you're going to choose the Constitution. So you don't even have to answer that. But it's a concern I share, I think, not just with colleagues here, but with many Americans. My colleagues have made the case about weaponization in this administration. We can have a debate about that. But there's been a universal statement here that we want the rule of law to be the basis of going forward. So thank you for allowing me to say that. Second, I'm really interested in your focus on how do we cut down on recidivism. I was a public defender. That's how I got started. You started prosecutor. In Vermont, prosecutors and defenders were good friends. We each had a job to do. But my experience with my clients, and I'm accepting folks who just, they're really dangerous. You've got to lock them up. You've got to throw away the key. But the vast majority of people had a substance abuse problem, oftentimes had very limited education, oftentimes face these incredible dilemmas that Senator Coons was talking about, where they get fines and they get their license suspended, so the job they had now they lose. So can you just elaborate a bit on what you want to do to inject some energy into dealing with cutting down on recidivism?
Well, first, we can address it at the Bureau of Prison level, of course, what we talked about. Those are for the people who will be locked up in prison serving sentences, to make sure they get the resources that they need upon release. 98% of the people in the Bureau of Prisons will be released. I believe it's a mess right now, a mess. And when you look at an organizational chart of the office, assuming I may get confirmed, I was looking at all the slots, and my eyes went down to the bottom to Bureau of Prisons because of my career experience as a prosecutor and caring about what happens there for the very reasons you said. We need more drug courts, and you were talking about drug addicts as well. Mm-hmm. It's more than that, and we both know that. It's also people who are dual diagnosed, meaning right. You have a drug addiction but also mental health issues, and that's well, Senator, I can't wrap my head around yet.
Right. I'd like to work with you on that. And then the third thing is that, I mentioned this earlier, the consumer issues, the False Claims Act efforts that you can bring, the challenge to ripoffs in the civil sphere, where companies are doing things that are just crushing our consumers and charging ripoff in overcharging. That is very, very important, and I hope that there'll be as much emphasis on protecting consumers as there will be on protecting public safety, which obviously is a high priority for you and for the department.
Yes, Senator.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think you're doing incredible today. I'm not surprised. Mom, how are you doing?